Up next, may I please invite on stage Shan, Deputy CEO and Head of Institutional Banking, DBS Group. Well, let's welcome her with a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Shan. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I just arrived this morning from Singapore, and just this week, a lot of Singaporean ministers and Indian ministers were talking. A big topic was digital payments. A big topic was how the two countries can work together better. So, today, I'm here to share with you DBS. For those of you who don't know, DBS is the Development Bank of Singapore. We call ourselves DBS now because we're now a commercial bank, a big Asian commercial bank, the biggest in Southeast Asia. But I'm here to share with you our digital journey, how it began, what we had to do. After all, banks, are not like fintechs. Banks are big. We're very heavily regulated. We serve, millions of people, and it's not easy to move. So today, speaking at the Global Fintech Festival, thank you to NPC and the sponsors. I'm here to share with you how we did this transformation inside out. So, firstly, it begins with the body. And what is the body? The body is the technological framework. Second, it's the mind. What is the mind? It's basically the people in the organization and how we've changed as an organization in the way we treat our customers, putting the customer bang in the center of how we look after them. And thirdly, the soul. And what is the soul? The soul of a company is essentially its culture. It's the business practices, it's the habits, it's what binds the employees together as a company with a common purpose, a common vision, and a common behavior. So let's unpeel this. So being technological driven, what does that mean for an organization? Most banks used to have big monolithic systems, right? And a lot of them used to outsource it to big tech companies. We were no different. And what we did very early on was we looked at all the various systems we had, and we realized, what is banking? Banking is actually people and technology, right? It's HR and tech. My CEO, Piyush, likes to call it HIT, HRIT. And that's what it is. It's bringing the best of the people, combining it with the best of your technology, and giving your customer the best experience. But if you outsource all of it, how do you control it? So we decided we should really insource a lot of our tech. We used to be 85% outsourced. We're now more than 85% insourced. And then we looked at our tech stack. From monolithic, we went to microservices, like all good tech startups, like all good fintech companies, going straight to the cloud, but also understanding a balance between going to the public cloud, being agile and quick, and balancing that with the resiliency that comes from being a big bank, and also the resiliency of, frankly, the big monolithic systems. And so having that hybrid, we came up with a hybrid cloud solution. We call it our hybrid private cloud, where we still use the best of the compute of the public cloud, but we have a paved gateway to make it secure for the bank. And then, of course, API everything. In this respect, we were lucky. We came up with our API suite and our API protocol. We've got several thousand APIs. And we came up with it very early in 2016. So that by the time COVID hit, guess what? We were ready. Because in 2019, I told my team, hey, let's have this API war cry. Let's get as many of our clients as possible, as many of our corporate clients, big and small, onto our APIs. Our APIs to look at balance, to look at transactions, to make transactions, to make trade, inter-country trade, and to do any kind of transactions. So when we came out with our API suite, we called it Real-Time API by DBS, Rapid for short, and really getting our CTO to talk to the client's CTO and getting our API suite to customers and enabling them. So for example, insurance companies, right? When you miss your flight, normally, well, you don't, if your flight is delayed, normally it's a slow form filling exercise to show your ticket, show that the flight was delayed. But if you've got a real-time connection, then if the flight's delayed more than 4 hours, basically the customer of the insurance company can immediately send through an API call a claim. And we can verify all the information and send the claim back immediately, instant claims. In India, for example, we've enabled logistics company, truck drivers, etc., to track the truck drivers, where they're going, help them to pay for the petrol, get them paid per trip, cashless, data-driven. And I think this has been a big game changer for us. And then getting tech talent. You know, we have 12,000 engineers working at DBS, and we have less bankers. We have probably like 8,000 bankers. So we like to say that we're a bank, but we are really a tech-enabled bank. We've got more engineers than we do bankers. And frankly, that's the way the business is going. And to be honest, a bit of gender imbalance in the past, especially in the STEM front. And so we started to have hackathons for women only, women engineers, so women in tech, hackathons for women, and a lot of dedicated campaigns to try and hire through AI, GenAI, and crowdsourcing great ideas from the front. Looking forward, what are the few things that we're looking at to get still in the forefront of technology? And here, there are two buckets. One, the hot topic, generative AI. And the second is the blockchain. So let me unpeel this. I don't know if any of you read the FT yesterday, but the head of Microsoft, the CTO of Microsoft, said they would stop hiring engineers that don't compute with AI by the end of this year. I thought that was quite a seminal statement to make. And I wanted to unpeel this generative AI. Frankly, AI is not new to any of us, right? Everyone's been using AI for years. At DBS, we started this AI movement probably 2016, 17. Actually, no. We started this in 2014. I was running wealth management. My team came up to me and said, let's use AI to help our wealth bankers be more contextual in their advice to clients. And I said, okay. But it's 2014. Large language models were not as developed. And so there was a lot of false positives. And frankly, we had to do too much work to teach the machine, how to read, how to write, what to read, what was more important. Was it time? Was it what the Fed said, what the BOJ said? It was very difficult. So that was our first experiment, and frankly, it failed. But fast forward now, with LLMs where they are, and with generative AI, which I think is incredible because the generative AI takes a lot of toil out of the system, right? It reads stuff, it synthesizes, it summarizes, and then it generates it in a way that you want it to generate. You can, make it shorter, make it longer, give me a photo, get it to illustrate. I tell you, my RMs are saying to me, my bankers are saying to me, wow, the pitch book it generates, excellent. The call reports that it does, excellent. The way it screens for adverse news or updated corporate news, fabulous. So at DBS, we've come up with a way to look at generative AI both vertically and horizontally. So vertically, we said, what are the vertical use cases, right? And this is role-based. So if I'm a banker, a relationship manager, what can I use generative AI for? Pitch books, client screening, ideation, right? And if I'm a call center employee, what can I use it for? Copilot. When the client calls, hey, my card is missing, immediately it searches for the client information, the transactions, and you can answer everything. The first call resolution with this Copilot went up very sharply. And in fact, now most of our calls are resolved in the first call. So when that happened, I said to my team, hey, can you even have no calls? Because if your generative AI is so good, then frankly, it should go to the client automatically in their post-login to tell them, oh, I can see you lost your card, or I can see your transaction got stopped. How can I help? Right? And for software developers, whether it's GitHub Copilot, a lot of the code now, testing, product acceptance testing, UAT, SIT, can be done by generative AI. And in fact, people say the quality of the code is pretty darn good. And especially if you're trying to move from the mainframe to micro to new stack, how many young engineers know how to do COBOL? Very few. But the generative AI can help. So many, many use cases on the vertical side. And then the horizontal, what we call mile wide, inch deep, is basically what everybody in the organization can use. And so we call this some sort of enterprise knowledge base, right? If you think about it, we have 40,000 people working for us globally. Some are new, some are old, some know this, some don't know this. Everyone's knowledge is different. But when you have a safe place for them to go in and question, and they can get exactly the precise answer that you need, gosh, that saves you a lot of time. And so in terms of building use cases, in terms of getting the right guardrails out, this is important. Because with the use of generative AI comes a lot of questions around, is it dangerous? Does it hallucinate? Is it poisonous data? And how will it make us, give the wrong advice? Or worse still, are we using data against the customer? And here, we have come up with something called a pure framework, P-U-R-E. That means whatever data we use, it has to be pure. And what is pure? Pure means P, there's a purpose to it. U, it's unsurprising. Or rather, I say unembarrassing to the customer. And R, it's respectful to the customer. And E, it's explainable. So with this pure framework, our governance, our data stewards, we've got the whole team who do this, right? We'll make sure that the models that we use, the data input, is it correct? Is it pure? Is it explainable? Is it embarrassing? It's not embarrassing. We make sure we've got these guardrails in place. And one of the things that we still do is we have the human in the loop, right? So don't worry, whilst jobs are going to change, humans ain't going to go anywhere. Humans will still have a role to play. Right? And so having that human in the loop is important. The other sort of forward-thinking tech I wanted to talk about is the blockchain. So, just a quick show of hands here, I don't know. We've come through a crypto winter, right? Everybody who, the crypto market sizing was 3 trillion at the peak, went down to 1 trillion in the crypto winter, and now back up to about 2.8 or so trillion. And crypto might be very volatile, but for DBS, the real value comes from the blockchain, the DLT. The DLT technology, we believe, has a real use case. And so crypto winter or not, we want to be at the forefront of using the blockchain for financial services. So we started this, actually we started doing this because we saw a lot of our consumers, especially our younger clients, buying Bitcoin and Ethereum using their credit card. And then we thought, oh, do they know who they're transacting with? Do they know whether it's a safe exchange? What if they've been scammed? What if, they lose their money? And when do they custodize their coins? So we thought, hey, DBS being one of the world's safest banks, we should offer them this custody service. So we started with the custody service in mind. And then when that happened, we said, oh, maybe they want to trade digital tokens with us. Maybe they want to go on-ramp, off-ramp. Maybe they want to have fiat. So we said, okay, we'll build an exchange. And then we realized, if we're going to go and do blockchain, we better know how to originate, which means if in future financial assets are going to get tokenized, then we better know how to tokenize them, right? And that means having this origination and issuance capabilities. So that's where we started. We did the whole suite from origination and issuance to trading and execution and custody, as well as settlements and clearing. So we've got the whole suite. Honestly, the issuance and origination part has been very slow. We did our first bond. We tried to do real estate. It's been very slow because of the lack of market makers, but it's there. And for trading and execution, we've gone up and down with the market. But what has been interesting for us is really the use cases for the DLT technology in areas of purpose-bound money, cross-border payments, and tokenization of treasury functions. So let me unpeel that. So we started a joint venture with JP Morgan, Temasek, Stanchart, and other banks. It's called Patio. And this is a blockchain-based cross-border payments platform. Why is it useful? Well, number one, it's 24/7. Now with platforms, everyone's 24/7. You want to pay cross-border and not wait for banks to open on Mondays, right? So 24/7. It's atomic, which means it's atomic settlement, it's instant. And it's pre-validated. That means both sides can say, this is compliant, it's AML, KYC checked, we can go ahead and pay, go ahead and receive. So that's efficient. So we see that as a great use case. And the other is tokenized treasury. So 2 weeks ago, my colleagues, seated right here, announced that we tied up with Ant Financial to help them to tokenize their treasury tokens in order that they can combine both their treasury tokens for 24/7 settlements. It enables them also to do liquidity management, virtual accounts with all their different merchants, and 24/7 settlements. So I see this as a great use case as the world gets more digitized, as platform companies get bigger, as more and more trade gets done digitally. This will be a great use case. Another, purpose-bound money. Governments, when they give out vouchers or when they give out aid packages, they want to make sure that the money is being put to good use. So Singapore government, for example, gives out a lot of help to students. You don't want the students to start using that money to buy beer. But you can make the purpose-bound money be specific for specific use cases. You can only buy books or technology or education stuff. So I think the blockchain use case is exciting, it's growing, and we want to be at the forefront. And you have to work with governments, CBDCs as well, stable coins now. There's more and more of a growing interest in this whole blockchain ecosystem. And now with regulators on board, central banks on board, I think this use case could start to grow. Okay, let me get to the middle of the middle segment, which is putting the customer first. Everyone says this, right? We learned from all the best tech companies. They're all seeing things from the customer lens. But let me tell you, for banks, we're not a pure digital business. We're a phygital business. We've got humans, we've got branches, and we've got digital offerings as well. But guess what? The digital branch is the biggest channel, right, for everyone. And for us, being an Asian bank, we wanted to figure out how do we bring an Asian level of service standards to our customers. When I first joined DBS in 2010, we were rated the worst bank for service in Singapore. And as Singapore's biggest bank, that was not good. So I remember we were hauled to a place in Changi, which is near the airport, called SQ, Service Quality, run by our friends from Singapore Airlines. And they are well known for giving the best service in the world. And this is where we learned what it means to give Asian level of service and hospitality to our customers, whether physically or digitally. So we came up with this thing called RED. I'm wearing red. Red is our DBS corporate colors. But RED stands for respectful, easy to deal with, and dependable. That's all you need. You need to be RED to your customers. You need to be respectful, easy to deal with, dependable. So we don't do anything today without putting the customer in the center. That means in our meeting rooms, we've got a chair that's just in red. And that chair is the customer advocate. And we don't do any new products without what we call the 4D framework. And what is the 4D framework? It's putting the customer in the discovery mode. Right? What does customer want? Does he want a mortgage? He may not even know what a mortgage is, but he wants to buy a house. So start with the journey of buying a house, right? Does the customer want insurance? He may not want insurance, but he wants to protect his loved ones. Start with that journey of protecting his loved ones. So doing the customer discovery is important. In fact, sacrosanct. Then you code and you deliver. You code and you develop, and that's the second D. And then you deliver. Then you define, and then you deliver. So this is the 4D framework. Sorry, I should have been discover, define, develop, and deliver in that order. And very often, we all have unconscious bias, don't we? We will all say, oh, I know what the customer wants. But very often, the data might tell you otherwise. Let me share a story. When it comes to foreign exchange, we all thought the client just wants a cheap rate, right? Just give them a good offer online, they'll take it, right? No. In fact, we did a lot of A/B testing, always be guided by the data. And we realized that the data was telling us it wasn't just the price, it wasn't the what or the how much or the who, it was the how. It was how you communicate to the clients. If we just flash, hey, cheap FX rate, we had so-so response. But if we flashed, hey, we missed you. Come back. We haven't seen you in a while. Here's a great rate to get you back. That worked best. So another way that we've changed our body was we've come up with something called managing through journeys. This was a lot harder to do. Here, we manage through horizontals, not verticals. And what does that mean? It means having different parts of the bank, be it product, be it the relationship manager, be it tech, be it ops, be it compliance, whatever, come together in a horizontal organization, and everyone is united by a common goal. And so if you manage through journeys, then a journey could be account opening, it could be customer transaction, it could be retail services, it could be documentary trade, whatever the journey is. Come up with the journey, and then we manage through dashboards. We have drivers, levers, and outcomes. And if your driver and your lever and your outcomes are not working, we keep changing. But everyone in that horizontal group is driven by the same outcomes. We want the customer turnaround to be lower. We want the customer satisfaction to be higher. We want more new clients to come onto the product. We want more new clients to come to the bank, et cetera, et cetera. So when I go for these MTJ meetings with my group, we use dashboards. And they use the dashboards to tell me, this is the outcome, good, bad, What's the lever? What's the driver? Is it working, not working? So completely different way of managing, completely different way of evaluating our staff. And you know what? It's really broken the vertical silos between businesses and tech and ops. It's made everyone just focus full-heartedly on customer outcomes, and everyone aligned. It's been very difficult, but I think it's gone a long way in helping us reimagine the customer journey and using data and dashboards and control towers and using innovation and constantly reiterating, experimenting, and getting better. Last is the culture. So, what is culture? Culture is a common behavior, of your organization. It's what binds the teams together. It's a common purpose. But creating the right culture is so important. And it's harder when you have 38 to 40,000 people. And we wanted to create a startup culture in a 38 to 40,000 strong organization. How do you do that? It's so hard. And so we said, well, I remember my first meeting with the design team. And they said, Shan, you're such a hippo. And I said, what? I'm fat, what? And they said, no, a hippo, H-I-P-O, is the highest paid person in the room, or highest paid person in the office. And you're behaving like one. Because I said, hey, my UX has to be red and black. That's the DBS colors. And they were upset with me because the human-centered laboratory was saying the customers didn't like red and black on their screens. They liked yellow and green. And so they went to great lengths to show me what the human-centered design lab data was telling them. And I said, by all means, kill red and black. Go with what the customer wants, right? And so this is where we came up with something called the raccoon. See the picture on the right? Looks like a raccoon, but we spelled it with a rack, as in wrecking ball. Because we wanted our teams, the young people in the room, the people who face the customers every day, the young technology guy, right, the analyst, the smart engineer, whoever, to have a voice in the room and not be dominated by the hippo or by the boss. And so if a young person were to come up to me at the middle of a meeting and say, I want to raccoon your idea, it is the safe space to say, go ahead, wreck my idea, raccoon me. And we found that it was so effective because when everyone said, hey, I have a raccoon moment, we give them a voice. And if there are no raccoons, we insist, come on, guys, raccoon us. And with every meeting, we have a meeting mojo. A mo is the M-O, meeting owner. A jo is a joyful observer. Normally, the jo is a virtual participant. The mo is the person that calls the meeting. And this is where we try to make the meeting more inclusive. The joyful observer could say, nah, too much dominance from one person, the boss, tone down, more voices in the room. And he or she will have every power to do so. And the mo has to stick to an agenda and a timeline and be inclusive and encourage dissent. Creating a learning organization. We've got a lot of different ways of learning, different campuses, and frankly, very unconventional ways of learning. When we tried to get everyone to learn about AI and machine learning, it was during COVID. You know what we did? We did this thing. I can't code. So every one of us, we took part in something called the Deep Racer, AWS Deep Racer game. And we were taught how to cut and paste code, stick it into your car, and after the races you go. And that's when we learned that you could use code and get the machine to learn, oh, there's a left turn there, there's a right turn there, and get your car to go faster. And we encourage failure, we encourage innovation, we encourage we crowdsource ideas. We've got failure awards, daredevil awards, etc. And it's this culture of innovation and ground-up innovation that really, puts us ahead. Finally, it's what we call our pride culture. Actually, this is a common thing. This is something that hasn't changed. This we've had for years. And being a purpose-driven organization, pride, right? Purpose, relationship-led, innovative, decisive, and E, everything fun. We couldn't find something that began with E, maybe enjoyment, but not many organizations put fun as something in their culture, but we do. Because you want people to have fun. We spend so much time at work. We want them to be able to create memories that last a lifetime. So this is important. So I will end with a slide that I love, which is a quote from Peter Drucker, which is, culture eats strategy for breakfast. You can have the best strategy and the best team, but if you don't have the right culture, you're not going to make it. So at the end of the day, create the right culture, create the right purpose and vision for your team, and you'll do really well. So with that, thank you very much.